Welcome to episode 2 of GTA 6 City of the Week, a series where we evaluate a different city, gauging how well it would fit Grand Theft Auto 6 as a setting. My name is Ross, or Mr. Boss for the win, and this is a weekly series that we're going to be diving into. Like I said, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. Let us know some other cities that you think would be cool, and also let us know about the current one we're going to be talking about right now. So, to kind of give you guys a quick summation of what we're going to be doing today, we obviously have zero information on GTA 6, which is perfect for this series because it allows us to talk about all the pros and cons of sort of the different cities that could be in Grand Theft Auto 6 as the next setting. All right, so the city we're going to be taking a look at today is Chicago, the Windy City. So Chicago is situated in the Midwest of the US. It's on the shore of Lake Michigan, which would work well for Grand Theft Auto, and it's the most populous city in the entire Midwest, which would make it significant enough to be featured in an entry of the GTA franchise. And I think that's very important because, like I mentioned in episode 1, the cities need to be global. They need to be iconic. Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, Las Vegas. And I think Chicago is in the same realm. A lot of people know Chicago, and even if you don't live in the US, you've probably heard of that. Now, the metropolitan area of the city itself covers much of Cook County and is extremely varied, which could be really cool. And this could even lead to a map that is pretty reminiscent of San Andreas, which is separated into distinct regions. Now, central and downtown Chicago have an impressive skyline, which would lend itself to the big city portion of the map, kind of what we've seen with Los Santos and Liberty City in GTA 4, while the surrounding areas have a nice mix of urban and suburban, with of course a touch of countryside here and there, kind of like what we see with GTA 5. Now, Grand Theft Auto maps have always incorporated water to act as a border, so that's where the presence of Lake Michigan could be used for this purpose. So if Rockstar was to create the city as a fictional island, maybe they could just have Lake Michigan extend itself all the way around. So that would actually be pretty cool. Now, let's talk about crime, since GTA is a game about, for the most part, doing criminal activities. So we need to evaluate the city from a criminal point of view. And I guess for Chicago's perspective, it actually would work well for a GTA game, because in 2012, Chicago had a higher murder rate per 100,000 people than both New York City and Los Angeles, which have both been featured as Grand Theft Auto settings, Liberty City and Los Santos. Now, as of today, violent crime in Chicago can be mainly attributed to gang-related turf wars, which also fits into the Grand Theft Auto profile pretty perfectly, with gangs like the Ballas, the Vagos, and the Family. Now, we need to talk about recognition. This is something I brought up earlier. It needs to be a city that, if you hear about it, you know about it. And Chicago actually has a lot of those things, including lots of awesome landmarks. So the most iconic landmark would be the Willis Tower, which I believe at one point in time was the tallest building in the world. Regardless, at the end of the day, it's still a very, very popular building. It would be the tallest in Chicago, that's for sure. The Chicago building itself, the Merchandise Mart, the Bean that can actually be seen. I'm not exactly sure what it's called. I'm pretty sure it's like the Chicago Bean, literally. So that would actually be pretty cool. They can incorporate the L train into central Chicago as a fast travel system that would also make the inspiration more recognizable. Now let's talk about the potential story. I personally see Rockstar going in two directions. They could either do something new for the franchise and go back in time to something like the 1920s, to the gangster era during the Prohibition. That would actually be really awesome, which would also allow for sufficient GTA-like experience. However, there are a few issues with this. At that time, cars were obviously less frequent and varied than they are today, and that's obviously a huge part of GTA's main gameplay, the cars. So I think a loss of that would be catastrophic. The only other main issue with Chicago is it might be too similar to what Rockstar have done with L.A. Noire, and also Mafia's franchise from Take-Two. And Chicago was also featured in another pretty prevalent open world game, that being Watch Dogs, which was supposed to be kind of this GTA rival, I guess you could say. So Chicago was the setting in the main game, so I'm not sure Rockstar would want to dip their toe back into that and do a city that was covered by a huge game and a huge gaming franchise, Ubisoft. Now, the other potential direction for this would be the modern day Chicago, and that's kind of the Watch Dogs style, where it would be a gang war set in modern Chicago, which is definitely more in line with typical GTA storylines. However, this brings up another possible issue: setting an open world third-person game with a heavy emphasis on cars and crime in Chicago. Again, doesn't that just exactly sound like what Watch Dogs did? So I don't think Rockstar would ultimately want to copy that. So now what we should do is take a look at some fan-created concept maps of GTA Chicago. So we've got a couple different maps to look at today, and actually Chicago is loosely referenced in the Rockstar universe as Carcer City. So Carcer City was actually featured in another Rockstar game called Manhunt, and even though Carcer City doesn't have an official location, a lot of people say it's a combination of Chicago, Cleveland, and Upper New York. So for this example, we're going to call it Carcer City 2. So this is the first one right here. You can see Lake Carcer and Lake Lilac. This is actually pretty cool. I don't know if this is complete by any stretch of the imagination, but this is pretty cool. I like the idea of big bodies of water that separate the different islands. I think that Grand Theft Auto 4 did that to an okay degree, but for the most part, it was just like tiny little rivers and inlets. Whereas this one, it's like, this would make boats and planes and jet skis and helicopters way more valuable, as you'd have to travel from map to map. So that's kind of the first one right there. This first one we looked at, I think, in the other video, but this one actually features a more heavily built Chicago, which is pretty cool. Now, it's a pretty rough drawing. It's of the entire United States, but if we slowly zoom in here on the Chicago portion, you can see it is by far the largest city in the Midwest area, with Los Santos obviously being down in the Southwest, Vice City near Florida, Liberty City up north, Bulworth even more so above that. So that one is pretty awesome right there. If we take a look at this one right here, this has it state by state, and they actually have Chicago called like Windaville or something like that, or Windavesta, which I guess is making fun of the fact that it's called the Windy City. So that would be pretty cool. Obviously, that features the entire United States, which we would not be getting into, but that one is still pretty awesome. Moving on, if we take a look at this map right here, they actually call Chicago Midway, which I think you can call it either way. You can call it Carcer City, or you can actually call it Midway. So that one's actually pretty cool. You can definitely tell it is the biggest city right there, and is once again on Lake Michigan. So that is awesome. And once again, we've never seen a GTA setting featured in that sort of area. And then this final one is actually a hand-drawn Chicago map. Look how amazing this is. So you can obviously see it kind of takes what I think is inspiration from kind of the San Andreas map and the GTA 5 map, where you've got a big city and then you've got a bunch of other like little areas scattered throughout the world, like an army base, other small cities. So this one would be awesome. Again, if you guys want to pause at any point during the video to take a look at the map for yourself a little bit better, I mean, look how cool this concept map is, and it's a hand-drawn one, which makes it that much more incredible. So now let's talk about the final verdict, the pros and the cons of Chicago being a setting for a GTA game. Let's talk about the pros. Great geography. Obviously, it's on a giant lake. We've never been to a city like Chicago. It has a lot of gang violence and iconic landmarks like the Bean and obviously the Willis Tower. However, the cons, it's difficult to distance from other franchises. Some similar to Rockstar like Mafia and L.A. Noire. Others from other AAA titles like Watch Dogs. So if Rockstar manages to give their spin on Chicago enough of a unique personality, the issue of distancing the game from similar franchises is solved. But without the way, Chicago would be an absolute awesome location for a GTA game. But anyways, that's all I've really got for you guys today as far as this city of the week. Let me know in the comments section down below, what would you think of Chicago, Illinois in the United States as a setting for Grand Theft Auto 6? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. Let me know what you're thinking down there. If you did go and enjoy this video though, a like rating would of course be awesome. And also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new or you like daily GTA videos like this. With all the way guys, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.